How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Nelly's Fishing Podcast. We have a great show for you guys today. Before we get the ball rolling over here, I want to give a few shout outs to some supporting companies, sponsors, pro staffs. I want to start with Weapons of Bass Instructions. If you guys are in the market for some really good jigs, swim jigs, bladed jigs, scrounger heads, go to Weapons of Bass Instruction and use the code Nelly for 10% off. Don't forget to check out yellowtech.ca and borica.ca, new mounting accessories for kayaks, canoes, and john boats. On today's show, we have a special guest, as you can see beside me. We got the great angler, Chris Butzen, good friend of mine too, fishes on OKBT and the Ontariokayakbassmasters. How's it going, Chris?
It's going great, Nelson.
So you excited? How was your trip? Was it all fun and everything?
It was a lot of fun. Yeah, I had a blast down there.
So on today's episode, we're going to talk about your experience going down for the Kayak Bassmasters. But before we get into that, did you were you able to go watch like the Bassmaster Classics for all the boaters?
So we didn't make it to the to the send off or anything like that, but we did make it to the classic, the expo. We walked around for a good part of the day. It was amazing. It was like a fisherman's paradise. So got to see some of the pros, got to meet some. It was a really cool experience.
That's awesome. And who did you meet? Like who were you excited to meet when you were out there?
Oh, well, I didn't get to meet him, but I saw KVD.
Nice.
I got to meet John Cruz and chatted with him for a bit, which was really neat. Pete Lusak from Bass U. I think we saw Dustin Connell there.
Okay.
And a few others. They were just walking around, chatting with people. So it was a really cool experience.
Now I never been to the Bassmasters. That show, the fishing show that goes on. Are you able to purchase lures, or is it just like showing out?
Fortunately and unfortunately, yes. I definitely left with some gift bags. So
Spent a little bit of money.
yeah, just a little bit. I went in there with giving myself a budget, and I think I stuck to it. Maybe went a little over, but when in Rome, right?
You get the credit card bill next month. Like, what did I do?
That's tomorrow Chris's problem.
Like, honey, I can explain.
Exactly.
But getting down to business here. So for everybody listening to the podcast, I was trying to get Chris Butzen and Chris Visser on here as a pair to talk to them. Unfortunately, due to schedules, I'm going to interview Chris B today, and I'm probably going to interview Chris Visser tomorrow, and I'm going to just put the video together later on. But we're talking about Kayak Bassmasters. Now, if you guys aren't aware or you're not into the kayak tournament scene, the Ontario Kayak Bassmasters does a tournament once a year, which is a qualifier. If you finish top 5 in this tournament, you get to go and fish the Kayak Bassmaster. Can we call it the Kayak Bassmaster Classic? Because that's what they...
I think the proper term was Bassmaster Kayak National Championship.
Okay, so you go fish the Kayak Bassmaster National Championship, and you get a chance to go on stage, the same stage where the Bassmaster Classic is held if you finish on top 10, right?
Top 10 get to walk across the stage, yeah.
That's awesome. So let's rewind the clock a little bit. Let's go back to 2022 when you fished the Bassmasters qualifying in Shandos Lake. Unfortunately, I couldn't go to that one because I had a wedding, but I heard it was a pretty tough day on day one. But tell me how the whole fishing experience went for you on Shandos.
Oh boy. So I had a horrible practice. Just not confident. Thought I was fishing all the right areas. Of course, did my research beforehand. Kind of knew where I wanted to fish and what I wanted to do. That time of year, the smallmouth bite should have been really great. If I remember properly, I think we had a cold front that pushed in, and kind of shut everything down. Day one was tough for a lot of people. I did find some bites early on, and then got a couple largemouth bites in the afternoon. But day one of the tournament was nothing like my practice. I could barely squeak a limit in
Wow.
practice.
Did you get a limit on day one?
I did, yeah. So I ended up with I think 84 inches on day one,
Okay.
and yeah. So I fished all the same areas I did in practice, which was the weird thing. I really didn't have another plan. So I knew those areas would be productive at some point. I knew I just had to hit them at the right time of day.
And it's a pretty deep lake too, right? Like it drops off really fast off from the shore.
Sure, yeah. I think my second or third fish was a 19-inch smallmouth, and I think I got it at about 25 to 30 feet deep.
Wow. So that's a lot of deep fishing. I'm guessing it's
Yep.
all finesse, like net or drop shots kind of deal.
It was pretty much drop shot, but sort of not just vertical fishing it, just kind of casting and bouncing it off the bottom, reeling it back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I like doing too. You bounce your drop shot or your net and make some noise in the water, right? Especially if you have like a tungsten head.
Sure.
I find it makes a little noise and might attract the fish, right?
Sure. I mean, like, I'd say drop shot is probably one of my confidence. Well, it is a confidence bane of mine. But I fish it. I do fish it vertically, but I really like to fish it to cover water, actually, which is
Yeah, I do the
that's
same.
kind of my favorite technique.
Yeah, it's incredible how much. So some people don't think about it, right? You actually do get to cover a lot of water. You cast it out, especially let's say if there's a point coming out. I like to position my kayak behind the point and cast it out towards, like let's call it the deep end, right? And just drag it back
Sure.
in, drag it back
Yep.
uphill if that's the case, right? That's kind of
Yeah.
like the way I like to fish a drop shot.
Yep. And you can stop it, and you can have that bait just suspend there for a little bit. And
Yeah,
if they're there, they'll usually bite it.
yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So how was your day two on Shandos?
Day two was so much tougher.
Oh no way.
So yeah, so the fish that were there on day one kind of were there. I mean, I didn't beat up my spots too bad. I kind of had a number of spots that I just cycled through, and then decided to actually find some new water the last half of day, or not the last half, but the last hour or two of day one. I just kind of figured, you know what, I need a backup plan if tomorrow doesn't work out so hot. So I spent looking for new things. I didn't really find anything. So day two, I did the exact same thing as I did on day one. I hit the same spots. I caught a couple fish early on. I think I caught 3 fish early. Found one more, and then at about noon, I was sitting with 4 fish. And anyone who fished that tournament can tell you that at about noon, the bite just completely died.
Man, that's
So
tough.
I was struggling. The one thing that I thought I could do was maybe go back and do a bay with some pads and with some vegetation, throw a Senko around, try to get a largemouth bite. I was just looking for a 12-inch fish. I just wanted a limit.
Yeah, you just want to fill your card.
And I knew if I could fill my card that I had a shot. So I went in to this bay, I threw a Senko around, and I saw a smallmouth come out from underneath the pads and smash a wacky rig, right?
Nice.
And it just measured 12 inches. I think it measured 12.25. So I was definitely happy at that point.
So was that your fish 5 and the last fish of the day, or were you able to get more after that?
That was my last fish of the day, my
Wow.
last bite. And I tried. I went to some of my old spots. I went to again, nothing. I went to some new spots. I tried completely brand new water, and I just couldn't get couldn't get a bite.
That's amazing, man. So when the leaderboard went off at 2 o'clock, did you know you were sitting, in possible top 5, or was it still in like you had your doubts?
I definitely had my doubts. I know how sometimes it is, right? You have that 1 hour, and if people don't submit their fish right away, it's usually you fall, right? You usually
Yeah.
fall 5 to 10, sometimes 15 and 20 places in that hour when people start uploading their fish. Or, if somebody really found them, if somebody found the bite in the afternoon, they could skyrocket up that leaderboard. I didn't think I was going to be top 5. I thought maybe top 10, but I knew the bite was tough. I knew that people probably weren't sandbagging. I knew that some probably were, but the bite was that tough where if you caught a fish, you were just kind of proud to put it on the board.
Yeah, it's hard to say when you have a hard fishing day, right? Like,
Yeah.
is someone gonna sandbag or just put it up on the board and that's it, right?
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
So when you
So
heard your name get called out, how was it? How was that feeling?
it's a pretty good feeling. You know, I think there are 50 anglers there, and these are, the some of the best anglers in Ontario. To be, to be in that top five of that group that we fished with is an honor. So um, I was very excited. I was very happy. Yeah,
Okay, so correct me if I'm wrong. You finished in fourth,
yes, fourth place.
and then if I get anything wrong, let me know. It was Brady Williams. Was
Yep, and
yourself. Third was
Paul Buchan.
yes, that's right, Paul Buckin. Then Chris Visser
He was first, and
was
then
first.
Justin Aram was second.
Okay, yeah, it's a good group of guys. So you guys almost started chatting right away and getting organized for this trip that just happened, right?
Yeah, I think we were more excited about just
Oh,
talking about the potential and talking about rooming situations.
yeah, I don't blame you. So actually,
Yeah,
that comes to my next question. So now we're back in 2023. You guys are getting ready to go down to the Kayak Bassmasters. I've never traveled across the border with all my fishing gear. When you cross the border, is there a special procedure you have to follow? Like, do you got to report, hey, this is my kayak and my rods, or you just drive through and that's it?
well, it depends. I think that if they ask you about everything, you kind of have to answer all the questions. But they, from what I heard, they didn't give anyone a hard time. I'm a dual citizen, so I'm an American citizen as well. So a little bit easier for me.
Nice.
Um, so yeah, they didn't give me a hard time at all. They asked me where I was going, what I was going for, and how long I'd be gone. So
That's cool, man.
yeah.
How long was the drive down there?
It was 13 hours for me. So I left at about 4 in the morning on Friday, the 17th, and drove about 5 hours to the Detroit border at the Ambassador Bridge and met with Justin at duty free. And then Justin and I drove the rest of the way together.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And you did just one shot after that, I guess. Where did you stop?
Yeah, pretty much. Well, we stopped for lunch and gas, of course, but yeah, just one shot. So we made it there in a day.
Okay.
We were there by about 7 o'clock, I think, at night.
Oh, that's not bad. That's pretty good, especially if you have someone with you, take turns driving or whatever. Just someone to talk to makes it a lot easier, right?
Well, we were in separate cars, so
Okay.
yeah, we were just caravanning
Get
down.
walkie talkies or cell phone call.
We would send each other text messages, call every once in a while,
Yeah,
and yeah. So
that's not
I,
bad,
I
man.
mostly just listen to music all the way down.
So when you got there and you got situated in your Airbnb, did you get time to practice to do some pre-fishing?
Absolutely. So I mean, this is a completely different fishery than what we're used to. We had 4 days of practice, and we knew that it was going to be a little bit different than tournament day. There was a cold front coming in, like a really nasty cold front. So I think one of the first day was like 12 degrees, 13 degrees, and not too bad, but still, not what we were expecting.
Yeah, of course.
So I think the third day was -6 in the morning when we
Are
woke
you
up.
serious?
Yeah, so
Oh
we got
man,
on the water. I was on the water by I think 8 or 9, and my guides were icing up.
how was the
So
water temps?
the water temps were 49, 50 degrees. And
Yeah.
then back in the pockets, like later in the day, you could find like 55. Yeah.
So is that where you were kind of catching fish, where the water was a little warmer?
So we tried everything. The first day I think we fished in a creek called Soddy Creek.
Okay.
Um, and we just obviously exciting because we get to go bass fishing in
Oh yeah.
March. A luxury that we don't really get in Ontario. So I was just excited to like turn on all my electronics, sit in my kayak, look at my fishing gear. So let alone casting. It was great. So once I got situated, we fished shallow. We fished the bank for a little bit. Didn't really get much. It was really tough fishing. We had heard that a couple weeks before the fish were almost spawning, like everything was pushed up on the bank and like they were making beds.
Yeah.
And then the temperature just crashed and the water temp crashed and they all just kind of pushed back out. So we didn't really know where to look for them. And again, completely different fishing. I mean, you're fishing a river, the Tennessee River. We have current, you have sloughs, you have creeks, you have deep water, ledges, shallow water, deep
big body of water too.
The big body of water. And you kind of had to, I mean, practice. My plan was just to kind of break it down piece by piece, kind of pick those sections where I think that could be productive or that I read about in doing research, right? So Saudi Creek, Harrison Bay area, a little bit north of Harrison Bay. So we just tried to cover as much water as possible, try to figure out where they were, at what depths they were, what their mood was, obviously what they were eating. And it was tough. I threw a bunch of different baits, didn't really get much. And then I switched to a drop shot. And you wouldn't think Tennessee River and drop shot, especially not in the spring. But it was kind of my last resort. I didn't really have I didn't have any bites on the other baits I was throwing. So I tried a drop shot and I caught a 10-inch largemouth bass.
Oh wow!
So I was like, okay, well, if a 10-inch will eat it, well, let's see what else will eat it. So I kind of threw that the rest of the day, and I caught 3 more, and I caught I think I caught a 15, a 16, and a 14. So with those, I mean, they're not great. They're not gigantic fish, but one of my goals was to get a limit every day in the tournament. And if I could find where these fish were and kind of where I think they were going to be on tournament day, it was a last resort. I could always put the drop shot in my hand, and I know I could get bites.
Now, what's your drop shot lure of choice?
So I usually use a flatworm.
Yeah.
So. Flatworm. Flatworms have been great for me. I keep it pretty simple. I just keep either a 4.25 or the smaller version of green pumpkin flatworm.
Yeah.
I tried some the Mega Bass Hasdong.
I love the Hasdong for drop shot.
Yeah, so they were biting that as well. And then I picked up some robo worms too. And they were biting that as well. So the robo worm is like in Morning Dawn. Yeah. They were biting Morning Dawn, white, and green pumpkin. So you're just like, okay.
That's a huge difference from white to green pumpkin,
Yep.
It's like
they were biting all three. All three. So I was trying to, pick, okay, well, are they preferring one color over the other? And I tend to get a little bit more bites on green pumpkin.
Okay. Yeah. When it comes to drop shot, I like the X Zone Hot Shot Minnow.
Yeah.
That one or the Hasdong shad, especially when I want to cover water like we were talking earlier. A little swim bait, just dragging it across. I feel like it goes a long way.
Sure.
And the robo worm is a no brainer. It's such a great lure. I don't know if you heard of the chomper worms, or no, the brand is called Chomper. It's like this bright pink bag with these yellow letters. You open up that bag of chompers and you could smell garlic across the lake. It's try it out if you ever see it in a store. They're really I know Bass Pro and Cabela sells them. I don't know who else might have them, but I'm telling you, they're pretty good.
All right.
So that was your practice, right?
Yeah, that was my practice, and I wish I would have covered more water. I wish I would have tried more areas. I kind of got into that mode of, okay, well, what do I find? Where do I go? What depth? Do I go out to the main river? Do I just focus back into creeks? And I know that time of the year, they're usually pushed up shallow. They're usually pushed back in creeks. And I just couldn't find the fish that were back there. And so my day three or my day, yeah, my day three of practice, I launched at Harrison Park.
Okay.
So, and that's just basically right in Harrison Bay. And there were steep bluffs, like steep bluff walls that went from 5 feet deep all the way down to about 20 to 25 in a very short time. So my plan was, well, let's see if these fish are just kind of on these bluff walls, because the water was down to about 7 feet. So they dropped the water in the entire in Chickamauga 7. So what normally was looking really good on Google Earth and really good in avionics and Active Captain, like it was dry land. Like you couldn't even get back there.
Yeah, that was
So
you're fishing a lot, eh?
yeah, well, it changed a lot of people's plans. So
Yeah.
you just had to be creative, right? So I knew that with changing water like that, fish generally like steeper areas, or what I found, fish generally like steeper areas, so they don't have to go, a quarter mile out of a flat, right?
Yeah.
That's that if the water drops a foot, and if it's a very, very gradual decline, they have to push further out, right? So so I tried a little bit steeper banks, and I found some brush piles. I marked some brush piles, saw them on live scope, saw fish on them. They were mixing with crappie, actually.
Okay.
So caught some crappie, but every once in a while you catch a pretty nice bass off of those brush piles. So I was fairly confident that that was what I was going to do on day one. Just find those brush piles, fish them. There were some road beds too that had some really nice nice drop offs, like 4 or 5 foot drop offs, and I would see schools of bass just sitting on them.
Oh wow.
And using them for cover. So I marked some of those, and I felt pretty confident that I could go back there and finesse fish and get a limit. Now it didn't happen that way on tournament day, but I think we woke up in the morning and it was just raining and very cold. So
Oh man.
raining at about 4 or 5 degrees when I got to the ramp.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and it rained all day long. It didn't let up once. So I was soaked by 9 or 10 a.m. just right through my rain gear.
It just
And,
didn't help. It just kept
no.
on coming down.
No, yeah. So some of the brush piles still held fish. I caught 3 fish my first day.
Was it raining with wind, or was it like calm winds?
The wind wasn't so bad as I remember. It wasn't too bad. I actually went out to the main river for a little bit just to check a new spot, and it wasn't bad at all. So it was just cold and rainy.
Okay, that's not bad, because if you have rain and then you put wind in the mix,
Yeah,
it makes it for a miserable day, man.
absolutely. You're just going to be freezing. That wind's going to cut right through you, and yeah, you just want to go home.
Yeah, absolutely.
So people did end up just like quitting early and leaving.
And
So
I could see that happening. And so you said you got 3 fish on day one.
yeah.
And you were sitting around the 40s, right?
Day one, I think it was 70 something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's
I
not
mean,
bad,
out of
man.
100, yeah, out of 132, I mean, sitting in like 71st or 70 something at the end of the day. I wasn't surprised.
Yeah.
I was surprised I was that high in the standings, but it looked like everybody had a really tough day. Not many people caught limits. So
Yeah, that's really rough. Now going on to day 2, I saw Christine Fisher's video. She was giving you a shout out, right? When she said Chris and Justin were at the ramp.
yeah, that was us.
So that was
Yeah.
you?
Yeah.
That was pretty cool. You got to meet her. Eh? She's really good. Really good at it.
Yeah. Her and Guillermo were at the ramp when we showed up. They were the only 2 other people there. I think they were pretty surprised that we showed up, and I introduced myself, and she asked me where I was planning on fishing, and I kind of told her, and she politely asked us if we could, not fish where she was fishing, and no problem. I mean, she was almost in the money, and we were just trying to do something different. So absolutely, somebody's respectful like that, for absolutely, for sure. We'll stay out of your way, and good luck. So
Yeah. Yeah, she was in the high 20s or mid 20s, I think, on day one.
yeah, she did really well.
Yeah. Yeah, she did really good. So day two, completely different.
Yeah.
Weather was sunny and calm, right?
Yes, in the afternoon, but it was still chilly in the morning. It was still, I think, 10 degrees in the morning, something like that. And it didn't actually warm up until the afternoon. The wind picked up in the afternoon, which wasn't very nice. But I decided to fish something completely different. We wanted to just kind of swing for the fences and do something completely different, something that I'm not used to, power fishing. So
Okay.
for largemouth, so I'm normally a smallmouth guy, and like my drop shot and like my finesse baits, but I kind of locked in a chatterbait
Yeah.
with one of the new missile baits, spunk shads, and threw that all day long. And the first place we got to, I got 3 fish right off the bat, pretty quickly, and I think like 2 15s and a 16, I think. And I was pretty excited, and I was like, you know what, I can do this. I can get 2 more fish and fill my card. We ended up leaving that place, and I went to another slough about maybe like a kilometer and a half down the river to the south. Ended up getting more bites, only one other keeper, like a 14-incher, but ending the day with 5 fish. Oh, sorry, 4 fish. Well, I was still pretty happy.
Oh, so you didn't fill your card on day two, eh?
No, yeah, I didn't fill my card on day 2 either. I only
But
got
I
4 fish.
remember I was at work and I was checking the standings every now and then. And I was like, man, Chris is killing it. He's climbing up there. It was good to see you guys. Like, I remember seeing you and Visser go, like, fighting your way up there. That was amazing. I was cheering for you guys, man. That
Thanks.
was a really good job.
Yeah, well, I thought I was going to get my 5th fish. The last 2 fish that I caught were an 11 and a half and an 11 3/4.
Oh, just
And I was trying to make those work, and I was like, you know what, I just can't. And threw them back, and then I got to that part of the day where you have to make a choice, right?
Yeah.
You have about an hour and a half left in the tournament. Do you stay in this one spot, or do you go back to kind of where you were catching them earlier and hopefully some more pushed up? I tried to go back to where I caught them earlier, and I just misjudged my travel time. So I didn't really have the time to fish. So I think I had about maybe 10 minutes if I got back there where I was catching them, and the wind was picking up, and yeah, so I just kind of ran out of time.
Man, that's too bad. You have your motor on your kayak, right? You have the
I do, yeah.
XI3.
Correct, yeah.
Did you drain the battery at all, or did you travel a lot?
So the first day, my battery died actually when I was out there, which was interesting because I really didn't go far. I was using a lot of spot lock.
Yeah.
I was using a lot of spot lock and using live scope a lot for the brush piles. Day 2, I traveled quite a bit. I went very far and didn't really use spot lock too much, but traveled much further. And I'm thinking that it probably just didn't charge right, or I put it on the charger too late.
Yeah, it could have been, right? How's the live scope? Or is it live sight or live scope?
Live scope.
How is it?
Yeah.
Like, I've never used one. I don't know how it is, but how do you like it on the kayak and using it and all that?
So this is my first year using it. I absolutely love it because I'm kind of one of those tech guys where I just love the technology and I love like seeing what's going on. And sonar is great, 2D is great, down imaging is great, side imaging is excellent. Live scope just makes it just a little bit better, or any forward-facing sonar. I mean,
Yeah, it's that next level, right?
Yeah, I mean, like, you can roll up to a spot, and it doesn't matter. It could be your favorite spot or a brand new spot, but every time that you shine that beam on that piece of structure or on that rock pile, you're gonna figure out something, or you're gonna see something new, right? You're gonna say, oh well, I didn't know it had this slight little rise here, or oh my gosh, is that a fish? And oh my gosh, that's my jig. And is that fish going towards my jig? Yes, it is. And it's the coolest thing to see a fish come up out of nowhere and just make a beeline towards your bait.
That's pretty cool. I haven't set my mind on one yet. It's not on the budget right now. Is it heavy though? Does it add a lot of extra weight to your kayak? I heard the module can be somewhat heavy.
Yeah, the black box is heavy. Depending on if you get an extra screen, like an extra unit, it can get really heavy. It's doable. I mean, it's doable. It's definitely heavy. I have a 126 SV mounted on the front, which I use for live scope, and then I have a 95 SV for my mapping.
Nice.
Using them together is kind of I found really, really good. I tried it with just the 95 SV. If I could get away with it, I probably would just stick to the 95 SV. But having that mapping along with the live scope and a full screen live scope, I feel is just that much better for my style of fishing.
So do you keep the live scope on the one side and just the map on the other screen, or do you ever change back to, let's say, side imaging when you're traveling distance?
Yeah, when I'm traveling distance, I have mapping usually on my 95 SV the entire time, and then while I'm traveling or moving, I generally have either 2D or side imaging on the 126.
Okay, that's usually when I find like some of the good smallie spots. I'm just traveling from one point to another, and all of a sudden, oh look, there's this rock pile 50 feet to my left. Yeah, you go check it out.
Absolutely, right? Or just throw a waypoint on there for later, right?
Yeah.
It's like, well, I'm on my way somewhere else, but I will come back here for sure.
Nice.
So, yeah.
So, going back to the tournament, we finished day 2. One thing I noticed, from what I heard, people online, day 2 looks like the chatterbait was working for a lot of people.
Yeah, it was.
A lot of people were using bladed jigs of all different brands. Which one were you using, Z-Man or something else?
So I was using a Z-Man jackhammer.
Okay.
It was in the green. I forget what the name of that color is, but it's the half green pumpkin, half white skirt.
Yeah.
And then I was using the I think it's called Green Pumpkin Surprise, Missile Baits Spunk Shad.
I forget the names right now.
It's kind of like. Yeah, so it's kind of a green pumpkin top with like a pearl belly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. So do you prefer using paddle tails on chatterbaits, or you go with
So this was my first time using the spunk shad.
Okay.
And I have to say I really like the action. The action on that bait is unbelievable. I'm actually thinking about using it for other applications, like just putting it on a jig head. And using it almost like a swim bait, but just bouncing it off the bottom. That tail is so, it's the movement on it is just amazing.
Yeah, I gotta check. I haven't tried them. I gotta check it out. Because I usually, when it comes to chatterbaits or bladed jigs, I go with like the Yamamoto one, the Zeiko.
Yeah.
I don't really look for a boot tail, right? I look for something with like a straight tail, or what's the other one? From OSP, Dole Live stick. It's just pretty much a stick bait, but the end of the tail is like very pointy, so it's like just waving like crazy, right?
Yeah, that's kind of like the spunk shad. So I highly recommend it. I'm not sponsored or anything by him, but it's a great bait.
Yeah, I'll check it out. So you finished day 2 in what did you finish on? Like what spot?
51st.
51st?
Yeah.
That was a hustle, man.
Yeah.
You did good.
It was, I tried, I like I said, I swung for the fences on day 2 and it sort of worked out. So
all in all, it was about 5 days of straight fishing?
6 days of straight fishing.
How tired were you?
I could have gone again. Like
Yeah.
Friday, I'm like, you know what? We're driving to Knoxville. It's about an hour and a half drive away. Like, go to the classic, and then I was like, hey guys, you know what? Like, we should just stick around for Saturday. Maybe go hit up a lake on the way home. And everyone's like, no, I think we're just gonna go home.
We're
so I'm like,
tired.
all right.
We
Fine.
want to go home.
And I'm like, come on. And I'm like, it's it's a long way to June.
Yeah, it is.
So,
Are you gonna go to the Nipissing event?
I'm not sure yet, so I've got to look at my calendar and see if it works.
Yeah, I might be going. I still haven't confirmed, but we'll see. Hopefully, we'll see you there, man.
Yeah, yeah. Well, if not, I mean, I'll see you at definitely see you at other events this year. So
Yeah, for sure. So I want to, if before we end this here, any shout outs you want to give out, sponsors, friends, or anything?
well, just to the guys, I guess I went on the trip with. Justin and Chris and Paul and Brady and Eric Turcotte was there as well. So
That's right. Yeah.
yeah, so that was a surprise. He came over one night, and I think we got pizza. So, though I mean, you couldn't ask for a better bunch of guys to travel with, and roommate with. That sometimes can be a little, you can be unsure about staying with people that you barely know, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you know these guys, but I've never really hung out with them, outside of fishing. So I didn't know, but I mean, everyone was just so laid back, so friendly. We all helped each other out with gear, with issues. Yeah. Other than that, I mean, my buddy Adam Blackmore, I got a shout out to him. He always helps me out, and whenever I'm kind of doubting myself or thinking about doing something different, I bounce ideas off of him.
You mean my neighbor Adam Blackmore?
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, he's always in my corner. So
yeah, I gotta give him a shout because he literally lives like 2 minutes away from me. So
yeah,
see if we get out sometime this spring.
absolutely.
Just like we did last year, right? We went out for that pike outing. We gotta do something
Yeah.
like that again.
We should do that again for sure. And even, I mean, I'm planning on going out as soon as ice is out, and working on forward facing sonar skills with perch fishing. I think that's probably the best way to do it for now. Is with perch fishing. And then when bass season opens up, just you're ready to go.
Are you gonna try any of the Zone 20 bass fishing?
I'm not sure.
We got until May 10th, right? So I want to
Yeah.
try to get an outing out there. I'm not
Yeah.
sure where exactly. I probably Bay of Quinte, to be honest, because I kind of know the area. But
For
yeah,
sure.
we'll see. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, we should plan something for sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's still frozen. I might have to call a few friends there and ask. But
Yeah.
yeah, you also got to be safe, right? Like, can't go when it's too cold out there, especially if the water's like in the high 30s or whatever.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I mean, I find finding those fish at those water temperatures is sometimes a chore.
Yeah.
So yeah, you definitely have to know where those wintering holes are.
Yeah, for sure. All right, man. I want to thank you for joining onto the podcast. Thanks for your patience with me.
Hey,
Been messaging
thanks
you
for
all
having
week.
me.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. And yeah, we're going to sign off here. And then tomorrow I will continue this podcast. And I'll probably be talking with Chris Visser. All right, Chris, thanks a lot, eh?
Hey, thanks a lot, Nelson.
Yeah, we'll catch you next time.
All right, bye.
Cheers.